All right. UFC 282 is in the damn books, and it started off to be an eventful night that fans could go home and tell their friends who didn't happen to catch the action about. But the co-main event and the main event, for lack of better terms, was lackluster. Anyhow, I got the homie here, Originali, to discuss what happened Saturday night. And the main event is what we're here to talk about currently, and that's Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev. Sorry, I almost forgot the guy's name. I want to forget about the fight, to be honest with you. I mean, the fight ends in a split draw. One of the judges scores it over here, one's over there, and the other one's right dab in the middle. What's your biggest takeaway from this light heavyweight championship fight?
Well, it shows you that the judges weren't watching the same fight as me and everybody else because we all knew Ankalaev won that fight. No matter how ugly it was, and that's a lot of people's perspective, but to me, I thought it was a masterful thing. He was getting his legs fucked up. You know what I mean? They were getting. He looked hurt. And both of them were. He changes his game plan, gets the takedown, controls, gasses out Jan. He ain't able to do anything, and ends up controlling the last 3 rounds. I felt like. I don't know, man. It's just weird sometimes, with the judges because there was another questionable call in the co-main event, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But just makes you wonder what's really going on with these judges. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. And the funny thing is that a lot of people are even out there scoring the fight for Jan, saying Jan won, saying Jan hurt him. He was the closest to ending the fight, and that, one of the earlier rounds could have been scored 10-8 for Jan based off of damage. I've heard a lot of wild things, but it's just crazy to hear that the fight ends in a draw. Like, I think everybody that was watching, it's expected Ankalaev to get his hand raised. For it to even be, for the judges to even say that Jan won, I mean, they saw what they saw. But the judging has been all over the place, like, for too long now. It's been too unpredictable. The saying used to go, do not leave it in the hands of the judges. Do not leave it in the hands of the judges. And now I really, really know why. Because, the fighters back in the day used to complain and be like, no, he didn't beat me. It goes to a decision. If I had more time, I would have done this or that. Don't let it go to the judges. But now it's just like, don't let it go to the judges because you don't know what they're watching. You don't know what they're seeing and what they're taking in. So even if you dominate a fight and control the terms of the fight plays out where you want it to play out and when you want it to play out in that position, you can still lose. Brandon, what is going on with judging?
There's no oversight on the judges. They're able to make these calls and that's it. And you just move on. Look, you could say that Jan won the fight. I would not probably disagree. He did fuck up his legs. He landed, dude, he fucked up his face as well. He was hitting him with some shit. But, it's all about how these judges score, ground control, time on top, things like that. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's a real head scratcher. And it's like, to me, there has to be some kind of oversight over the judges.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of my favorite MMA shows that I watch, Morning Combat, I'm like always, well, I'm not always, but I've commented a few times being like, hey, do you think the hardcore fan who is unbiased could judge better than the judges do? Than the judges, than what we're getting from the current judges. And I'm, getting met with a lot of pushback being like, oh, the job is a lot harder than what you guys are thinking it is. And I've heard a lot of complaining about the judging, but I haven't saw anybody step up and try to become one. Well, I do want to become one, but it's a process. All I'm saying is that I would have scored that fight for Ankalaev. I would have. I would have gave Jan the first 2 the rounds, and I would have given Ankalaev the last 3, giving him the victory. I didn't see any 10-8 rounds in that fight. And if there was a 10-8 round, I mean, it's probably the round where Ankalaev was just laying on top of Jan for the whole damn round and just pounding on him. Like, they literally took him down at the beginning of the round and just pounded on him. So that would be the only 10-8 round I would see.
Yeah, that's the issue I have as well. It's not like he was just laying on top of him. He was landing some strikes. He had his arm tied at one point against 100%. The cage. Probably could have finished the fight. Could have finished the fight possibly if he just would have unleashed a fury of punches. I really do believe it, because there was no way. Jan was gassed. I mean, look, these guys didn't have enough time to prepare. They didn't get a full fight camp. That does need to be addressed. It was a 5-round fight. It did go 5 rounds. I mean, and can we go ahead and, I don't know if you have any more to say, but I was going to transition to Dana White in the press conference because it all ties into me.
Yeah, go ahead. Dana White was pissed off, and from what I'm getting from you, you think rightfully so. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, but it's weird though that, I mean, look, if you have a controversial fight like this, how do you not run it back with a full fight camp? And it's just like he doesn't take into consideration, which I'm sure from his perspective, it was a headache to even get this fight going because of, what happened to Yuri and things like that.
And then what happened to Glover right after. Happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And things happen. So it's just weird, for a guy like Dana White who says, I don't make fights after fight cards.
He's notorious for saying that. That's his go-to. Notorious. And so I'm gonna go ahead and say
right there makes a
right. He's pissed off.
There, it makes a fight.
He's pissed off. He announces Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill in Brazil for the undisputed vacant light heavyweight championship.
Did you have anybody winning in the main event? Did you have it?
I don't even know. I started to zone out after like fucking 3 rounds. So, I heard that Ankalaev is upset and whatever. What do you want me to do? You got beat up the first 2 rounds and you took him to the ground. You started. What are you going to do?
Yeah. But I guess the question is, what do you do now, right? I mean, vacant title, a split.
You do Glover versus Jamal Hill in Brazil for the vacant title.
Is that done?
Done.
Fun fact: Anthony Smith was supposed to fight Jamal Hill. He gets taken off. Give Jamal Hill the title fight against Glover Teixeira. See what happens.
All right. Well, Dana White just announcing at the press conference, you guys, that Jamal Hill will be fighting Glover Teixeira in January. I know, obviously, you're stunned by this news. Just a reaction for that light heavyweight title now between those two.
Yeah, that's a problem for me. Huh. That's a big problem for me.
Go ahead, bro. My bad.
Yeah, it's just weird. And even the way he announced it almost seemed like he was nervous. His voice cracked a little bit. I don't know what the hell's going on behind the scenes because me and you, we don't know, and nobody probably listening knows.
He was emotional.
But he seemed very emotional. And it could have been due to the fact of the judging, which was like, hey, I don't know, man. Is there a case to say that it was a legit draw? I keep going back to it because, they both had their moments, right?
Well, I don't think that it's mostly about how the judges scored the fight. I just think that it's the fact that it's 3 judges sitting there and they all saw 3 completely different fights. I think that's where that's wild. You know what I mean? Neither judge agreed with either judge. They're all seeing a completely different fight. So that's where, I think the flags, are raised on. But like you said, we don't know. We don't know what they're pissed about, to be exact. But it is crazy to have 3 judges sit there and watching the same fight, but they score 3 completely different fights. You know what I mean? As far as their scorecards are concerned. But
what that tells me is that there's not a scoring criteria that's established. Because it's like if they all saw it differently, it's like there's no criteria of how they're judging. Like it's just all over the fucking place.
I mean, that's the thing. There is a criteria. They just clearly don't understand the criteria.